Hello, and welcome to another episode of Tuesdays with Tally. This is episode 47, and I'm your host, Brian Tally. The mission and the goal of this podcast is to bring an engaging conversation that will add value to the lives of everyday people. We will inspire, encourage, educate, and tell the stories of America's finest men and women in an effort to motivate you to live your life to its fullest potential. Be sure to follow us on social media and on Spotify. The online information and handles are all located on the scrolling ticker at the bottom portion of your screen. Be sure to like and share the program as well. You can also support the program by going to Anchor FM or Spotify and clicking the support button. Also, become a program sponsor today. Program sponsorships include a custom written script to advertise your business to its fullest potential to get the results you're looking for. Let me help you market your business. Advertise here on this program today. To learn more, email me at thetallybill@gmail.com. That's thetallybill@gmail.com. Folks, before we get started, I would like to send my heartfelt condolences and prayers to everyone affected by Hurricane Ian. The path of destruction that Hurricane Ian has left behind is truly devastating. Again, our thoughts and prayers are with you today and the coming weeks and months. Folks, we have a very special guest joining us on today's program. Chad Drummond, a 38-year-old who is married with one child and has two dogs. He grew up in Littleton, Colorado, where he graduated from high school in 2002. Their crosstown rival was Columbine High School, and they actually came to Chad's school to finish up the school year after the tragic mass shooting that happened at Columbine High School. Chad later moved to Arizona shortly after he graduated to pursue an education in automotive repair and welding. Once he graduated tech school, he moved back to Colorado and decided to move up to Summit County to become a ski bum. He landed a job with Ford, and it really set him on the path that he's currently on today. After about 8 years of working at Ford, he truly learned that being a mechanic was more of a hobby than a profession. His career was on a downward spiral, and he hated what he did, and he didn't care about the quality of work he did any longer. He was then hit by a golf cart in a parking lot at a motocross racetrack late at night, and that accident left him with two broken fingers in his left hand. And being a mechanic, he couldn't work, and he lost his job. And that's exactly what he needed. He got involved with a community college to start a career in the fire service. And after years of trying, he landed a job in New Mexico, where he has been in the fire service now for just over 10 years. Over the last 10 years, he has achieved 5 college degrees, 3 associates and 1 bachelor's, and even a master's degree. During Chad's free time, he works for the small repair welding shop. He also runs a pro SXS racing team that runs on a pro circuit in southern Texas with Chad as the driver. Chad feels lucky and thankful to be where he is today. And with that, we are honored to be joined by Chad Drummond. How are you, sir?
Great. How you doing, Brian?
Hey, man, I'm hanging in there. I'm glad we got these technical difficulties ironed out. I know we've been trying to get this squared away for quite some time, but we did not quit. We remained engaged, and we got it done.
Sure did. Happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Hey, man, the pleasure is all mine. Look, we've got a mutual friend in Chris Braz with Outlaw Desert Racing. He reached out to me quite some time ago, and he says, hey, look, man, I've got a buddy. He would be great for your show. You should reach out to him. And that's exactly what I did. And here you are today. And really, you do a lot with Outlaw Desert Racing in the veteran community. So, I thought it would be very important to kind of share what you do and how your life has unfolded from, being a kid and growing up in Colorado to where you are today. So let's get started. I know we got a lot to talk about here. So can you explain what it was like growing up in Colorado?
Yeah, I was actually born in New Mexico, and we moved out to Colorado when I was like in 5th grade. And what a beautiful place. Colorado is an absolutely beautiful place. I was lucky to grow up where I did. Grew up in a small little community, Littleton, Colorado. at the time, Colorado like wasn't really thriving like we've seen it today. It's, in my opinion, now it's extremely overpopulated. When we moved out there, there was no Highlands Ranch. Denver was still small. The population just took off. After 2012, it really took off. But growing up out there, I'm thankful. I'm lucky to have grown up out there. So I went to Chatfield High School. I actually graduated from high school in I think it was 2002. It's crazy to think that was 20 years ago. Graduated in 2002, and my senior year is when Columbine unfolded, and yeah, they came to our school. So I remember like we were all on lockdown, we couldn't leave, but they came to our school for the remaining of the year. So in the beginning, when all that unfolded, I think we went to school, if I remember correctly, from like 6 noon, and they came to our school to finish out their school year from 12:30 to I think 6. That was kind of the time frame. So graduated from high school, and then I moved on with my life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we both have ties, to Colorado. I moved to Colorado when I was a freshman, or I think I was a sophomore in high school, from San Diego, where me and my brother and my mom, we grew up in San Diego. We moved to Colorado. I went to Woodland Park High School, which is up the mountain from you. And, the rest is history. And you're right. When I moved there in 92, it was still a beautiful place. It's still beautiful, but albeit, like you said, it's completely overpopulated. You can't go anywhere fast, unless you're out on the Eastern Plains. So, really at the end of the day, it has become one of those states where, it's tough to get around. And even if you want to get up to the mountains, you're in lines and lines and miles of traffic and backups. And it just becomes stressful to go up to do something that should not be stressful, like sitting by the river or going up on a hunt somewhere.
Yep, I 100% agree.
So you're in New Mexico now. And you've had some trials and some tribulations in your life. Now, take me back to being a ski bum. Describe that lifestyle that you lived up there in the mountains for a while.
So growing up in Colorado, that's what we did on the weekends. We go up and ride Breckenridge, and Keystone, Copper Mountain. And I finished up my tech school in Arizona, and all my friends, they all left, went home, and I didn't have a choice. I had to go home. I didn't have anybody to room with. You know what I mean? The lease was coming up on our apartment, and everybody split. So I moved back home. I lived with my parents for like 2 weeks, and I couldn't take it. My dad would wake me up at like 6 a.m. and want me to go take out the trash and do chores. And, this is when I was like 20. And I decided to just pull the trigger and move up to Summit County, and figured I'd find my way. And I went up there, and actually they offered me a job. Being fresh out of tech school, I went to, tech school for mechanics, auto mechanics. They hired me, and that's how it kind of started. And I had a lot of good times up there. A lot of people that live up there, well, it's expensive to live up there for one. And a lot of people work in like the service industry and don't necessarily have professional jobs, but their whole deal is just be a ski bum. And so I don't really think that I was necessarily a ski bum, because I actually had a good job, and I couldn't necessarily ride Monday through Friday like everybody else, all the locals would do. But they had night riding at Keystone, and every night after work we'd go night ride, shut down the lifts. I think they closed at 10 back then, and on the weekends, same thing. So it was a good time. It was a wild time. Summit County is a good place. It's a good place, man. I got a lot of fond memories out of that. So
I've got a lot of memories too of Summit County. And having graduated in Woodland Park, I know quite a few folks that left high school and they didn't go to college. They didn't join the military. They went to be ski bums in Summit County, Breckenridge, Monarch, Keystone, and they'd stay up there. A lot of them turned into hippies. They'd go up there and they would smoke their pot, and they'd be on the ski lift, and they would kind of work at a restaurant, and they bartend, and their life was pretty much making the money to afford that yearly pass to do nothing but ski and snowboard. And they did that for quite some time until they said, okay, yeah, enough's enough here. I think I kind of become an adult now. But folks will do that for as long as they possibly can. It's the same way in growing up in San Diego, except for it's they become beach bums. And anywhere you have anything like that, you are going to have that, and that will, eventually happen to folks that need to find themselves, because we all don't find ourselves very early in life. Sometimes it takes time, and so that's cool. Everybody has their own timeline with life, if you will. So you leave Summit County, and you down the road here, you kind of hurt your hand. You get hit by a golf cart. Explain that.
Crazy story. So lived in Summit County for 3 years, and there was a saying in Summit County that's like, I can't remember what the saying was, but like, if you live up there for more than 3 years, you're never leaving. And so I always had that in the back of my head. And like, I came right up on 3 years. I'm like, I got to get out of here. Cause like, it was something to check off, the checklist. It was an adventure and experience that I wanted to, partake in, but like, I don't think that was where I wanted to be, So I actually moved back down to Denver after 3 years of being up there. And we were at a motocross race one night. And it was Thunder. I think it's Thunder Valley. It was just a little tiny track back then, but they were just getting in like the big AMA races. And at the time, I had a girlfriend that worked for Red Bull, and she got us into, I don't know, the VIP section or whatever. And we left that party one night, and we're walking back to the car, and out of nowhere, we're walking in the parking lot. Out of nowhere, this golf cart just hit me. And it was like, back then they didn't have like the big side by sides like we see today. It was a lifted golf cart, and he hit me going probably like 20 miles an hour. Hit me, I flew up in the air, and he slammed on the brakes, and I landed on him. And my shoe fell off, and it actually ended up breaking these two middle fingers. And I like rolled backwards out of the golf cart. He took off, and there was like thousands of people that saw this, and the crowd like detained this guy. Cops came. It was a big old deal, but it turns out that golf cart was stolen. I guess he stole it. He saw it with the keys in it, and wanted to go for a joyride in it, and took it out, hit me, broke my fingers. Like I said, the crowd kind of subdued him, and the cops came and everything. It's kind of a big old deal, but that kind of set the pace of my life. And out of that, I had 2 broken fingers, and I couldn't work. I worked for a dealership down in Denver, and I couldn't work, and they fired me, and that was probably the best thing that's ever happened to me. So I just hated my job, like the automotive industry is cutthroat. And I didn't really care about like the quality of work that I did. I was just there trying to make money, and I just did sloppy work. I just didn't care. And they fired me, and that was a good thing. Back then I was scared. I didn't know what to do. I didn't have any money. You know what I mean? I was 23, and I lived paycheck to paycheck. I'd blow all my money at bars and on toys, and I decided it was time for a change. So there was a community college in Lakewood. I wasn't too far from there. I had friends that lived in Lakewood. They were looking for a roommate, so decided to kind of shack up with those guys and got involved with the community college there. And I took all the fire science classes I could. And I think that was 2008. And 2009, I actually got my EMT basics. So that was kind of like the start of me going into the fire service. And so I took, like I said, every class that I could, trying to get involved with the fire service and trying to get hired on somewhere. Denver, I took the Dr. Cog. I just couldn't, I didn't have test scores high enough. Denver typically favors like veterans. I'm not a veteran, but a lot of those guys that were testing were, ex-military guys, and they take the written test and walk away with, a 98%, and they get 5 extra points for being military. And so, they got 103, 104%. I can't touch that. Like my scores were like 92. They weren't good enough. I was still ranked like, 300 on the list. So I decided to venture out, look anywhere I could, and I kind of told myself I'd go anywhere I could, trying to just get hired on with the fire service. So I applied out of Texas everywhere. Like I said, tested a bunch in Colorado. Went out to South Carolina a few times, just looking anywhere that I can get involved and get hired on as a career fireman. And I was lucky to have an opportunity down in southern New Mexico. So they hired me down in southern New Mexico. So They asked me if I wanted the job. I said, yep, I'll be down there. So I moved all my stuff from Colorado, beautiful Colorado, down to southern New Mexico. There's nothing but flat land and pump jacks down there. I had no idea. Culture shock. So
yeah. So to go back to the whole golf cart incident, you know, you got this kid that stole it, and you know the whole, you know, thing behind stealing something, right? Drive it like you stole it, and unfortunately, he was driving it like he stole it, and then used you as a speed bump, which would ultimately throw you out of a dead-end career and would put you on the path to success in building a career where you are today. Perhaps if that kid would have never hit you, you may not be where you are today with all your degrees and your fire science and all that stuff. So at the time, you're like, that guy hit me and I lost my job. My livelihood's been taken away. But really, when you look back at it, it's the best thing that ever happened to you.
yeah, you know, and I 100% agree, you know, so, yeah, at the time it was scary, you know, I didn't
Mm-hmm.
have a lot of options, you know, I didn't have a savings account, but, yeah, that the course of my life, you know, those broken fingers led me to where I am today. And you're right. If that event didn't happen, who knows where I'd be? I'd probably still be in the automotive industry turning wrenches, and I'd probably still be in Colorado. I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah. You know, you had two choices to make at that point. You know, you can choose the career that would better you and for the betterment of your life by going to, you know, a community college, a trade school like you were doing in fire science, or to throw in the towel and say, well, pity me, I'm just going to continue on and, you know, heal and turn wrenches and hate life and do shitty work and shoddy work and, you know, live a life of, you know, just being subpar. But
Mhm.
there was something in you that there must have been some sort of light bulb that went off to say, I want better for myself after this happened. Can you explain what that light bulb was and when that came on after you were injured?
Yeah. I don't know. Growing up, my dad was always like, if you want something, you got to go get it because like nobody's going to give it to you. And
Mm-hmm.
the whole reason why I went into the automotive industry is because in high school, I didn't do good. You know, I didn't have a lot of choices for college. My GPA was super low. Like I just didn't care about high school, and that's a good thing and a bad thing, you know, because I mean, without all those choices, poor choices that I made, like I wouldn't be where I'm at. So that's a part of my history. But you know, there's just I don't know. There's just something in me. I knew what I want, and I had to go get it. And
Yeah.
I had opportunities to seek it out to make it happen, and I did. So I made it happen. You know.
Did you have a lot of good support structure from your dad to kind of help lead you and guide you along your way?
Yeah, you know, my parents have been great. Still married today. You know, they actually live about 40 minutes from me, so they moved down here not too far or not too long ago. But yeah, I think that like growing up, like it was a good support system. I've got two sisters as well. They were always supportive, but my dad's like, I can help you out a little bit, but like this is your life. You know, like I'm not gonna baby you. You know what I mean? You're 23. Like you gotta find your own way. And when that happened, I broke my finger and I lost my job. I didn't have any money in the bank, and I called my dad almost in tears. And I remember he wrote me a check for like $3,000. He's like, this is what I got to give you. Make it happen. Like wherever you got to go, whatever you got to do, make it happen. And so I ran with it, man. So they've been
Hmm.
absolutely supportive the entire time. My mom has always been, I guess, my number one fan. You know.
It's good to have that good family structure and you know that support. You know, a lot of guys don't have that. You know, let's face it. You know, you have a lot of broken families out there, and you know, a lot of guys, you know, look to other areas for mentorship, and it's good you had some very good supportive parents to help put that train back on the tracks. Now, we do have some commonalities. I had bad grades too, and I could have been a better student. And when you said that in college, when you're doing your fire science, you're saying, I didn't do that good. I only had 92s. I'm like, holy shit. I would have killed for a 92 in anything I did. I mean, I was a C student, you know what I mean? So congratulations on remaining engaged and taking that positive step to at least doing your homework and getting it right, because you're not going to get a 92 without trying.
Right.
Especially for guys like me. That's why I was forced to join the Marine Corps, because really all you need to do to join the Marine Corps, at least when I joined the Marine Corps in 1994 at 17 years old. You needed to have a high school diploma or at least be on track for that. I was in the delayed entry program and not have a felony. And so I won there. Yeah. I mean, and I still, hey, no criminal, no felony. I don't even have a misdemeanor. So I'm clean as it gets. So, and I wanted to just clear that up with folks. But the Marine Corps, was bringing in people that may have needed that structure, that didn't have those grades, and didn't have that direction. They didn't know what you were going to do, and that's why I had to obviously join. And it would end up being probably the best decision that I would make, because if I didn't join the Marine Corps, maybe I wouldn't have gotten the discipline and the focus and the drive I do today, to become the man I did become today. Now, the reason why I bring up the Marine Corps is because I'm a veteran, and you work with a lot of veterans. Even though you're not a veteran yourself, you give back to the veteran and the first responder community. Can you explain what you do in your off time when you're not working on the clock as a fireman? So, I mean, you really are a public servant where you are in New Mexico, and that's quite honorable of you. And to have that off time, when you a lot of times people are like, I'm tired, I want to hang out at the house, I want to hang out with the family, I want to do some chores. But you take it a step further, and you go out and you've got this race car, this outlaw desert racing truck, or those dune buggies, and you take veterans out on on this adrenaline therapy type rides. Can you explain how you got connected with Chris Braz over at Outlaw Desert Racing, and what has inspired you to continue to go out and to really treat these veterans to perhaps the ride of their life?
Yeah, sure. So I met Chris. Well, I live in Rio Rancho, and I basically live on the edge of the desert. So I met Chris over time, just spending a lot of time out in the desert. Started out on a dirt bike and led into the side by sides, but that's how I met Chris. And Chris has been kind of an icon to me. He's been kind of a role model to me. But he offered me and my buddies to go out to Las Vegas with him to go pit for some guys out there for the Mint 400, and that's kind of how I got involved with Chris. We went out there and pitted for these guys, and living on the brink of the desert. I have a side by side, and I told my buddies, I'm like, we could totally get into this. So we did. We built the race car, but the adrenaline therapy program is something that Chris and Drew kind of developed over time, and I think the whole drive behind that was with one of Chris's sons. I think he's got real bad PTSD. So, but the whole idea behind it is, if somebody is having a tough time, whether it's suicidal thoughts or depression or whatever it may be, with the adrenaline therapy program, they can reach out to Chris, they can reach out to Drew, they can reach out to whoever's involved with the program, and we'll take them out in the desert and throw them in the front seat of the race car, put the headphones or the mic or the helmets on them, and we go out and just rally. And I think it's an adrenaline rush for sure. For people that haven't really seen the desert, been involved with the desert scene or any type of like side by sides. They're pretty impressive machines. They can go 80, 90 miles an hour through the desert, hitting big bumps, whoops as they call them, sand dunes, and so it's definitely a rush. And the whole idea behind the adrenaline therapy program is to kind of bring these guys out of the funk, and see if they can't get them involved in like a kind of like a team sport kind of deal. With racing, what we do, there's a lot to it. It's not just me. It's 4 or 5 guys, and there's constantly things that needs to be done. There's sponsorships that we need. Endless amounts of work on the car. People that's got to take care of the car. It's there's a lot that goes into it. So,
you mentioned, it's something good to kind of bring out some veterans and first responders that may be feeling that anxiety and that depression from either the wounds of war or other traumatic experiences that they've gone through in their life. And let's face it, we all have some sort of traumatic experience in our life. It's just human nature. Life is hard, and we're all going to have that adversity in our life. Some see it more than others, especially veterans and first responders. And you say, we want to help these guys perhaps snap out of that funk. And I couldn't think of a better way to see with anxiety and depression. You can't really have both at the same time. They do feed off of each other. If you're going through a lot of anxiety, that's what you're going to be having. If you're going through a lot of depression, that's what you're having. They don't really coexist. But however, at least through my experience, you either have one really bad or the other one really bad, but you always have them, just at different times. And then there's ways to manage that. Now, for guys like me, for my anxiety, it's always on my mind, and I don't know why. I'm an alpha male and I'm a driver, so a lot of the times my anxiety will drive me to be the best I can, and kind of having that afraid to fail type thing. So what takes anxiety off of my mind? Well, doing things like this. I'm not thinking about the anxiety. It's not always on my mind. And I can imagine having a veteran out there who's always got that anxiety on their mind. And because it's a thinking disease, really. It's what's going to happen. It's a worry, worry. And before you know it, it's hard to manage. And then some people need to be on medications and so on, and so forth. But it is very hard to live a life with anxiety. And when you're doing 80 or 90 miles per hour on the desert, you're not going to be thinking about that anxiety anymore. It's almost like, somebody that breaks their leg, their leg or their arm, and all they can think of, oh my God, I got a broken arm. Yeah, until somebody shoots you in the right leg. Now you're like, oh shit, my right leg. You totally forgot about your broken left arm. So when these veterans come in and they're having this bout with anxiety, or they're having this bout of feeling down and having this depression, do you see a difference from when they first arrive to when they leave?
Absolutely. So, absolutely, man. I have seen a big change. At first, people are kind of shy, especially like around a group of people, the new guy, and the attention's all on them. They're kind of shy, and then at the end, it's they're happy, they're excited, they're thankful. Like, man, it's one of the coolest things I've ever done. So it's rewarding, man. It is.
I can imagine how rewarding it is, and it's probably therapeutic for you too, to get out there and to give back, and to know you're going to be giving back in a way that's meaningful to someone's life. They could be talking about this experience as a memory that they've had for the rest of their life.
Yeah.
You get a veteran out there that's 25 years old, that's been through a lot in life. You can be 45 or 50 years old and be like, man, when I was 25, I went to New Mexico. We were doing 80, 90 miles an hour on the desert floor. I was out with this guy, Chad. I haven't talked to him in 25, 30 years, but I remember it like it was yesterday. And those are the memories. That's the camaraderie that is built. And look at you. You've met a guy out there on the desert and you became great friends with him and is somebody that you look up to and that you mentor. So you continue to build these relationships and you continue to add value to the lives of so many veterans out there and first responders. So I mean, I can imagine how rewarding that is for you. Now, how often do you do things like this?
Lately, not so much. My work schedule's been pretty busy. I work a lot. We're kind of short staffed, so I don't really have a lot of free time. Just even trying to link up with you to do this was kind of a challenge on my end, just because my schedule's so uncertain. So I got a 2-year-old right now. My wife's trying to go back to work, so on the days that I'm not at work, I'm usually here taking care of that little boy. So, but I'm looking forward to getting back into it with Chris. I don't know if Chris is going to stay in Texas or if he's coming back here, but the vice president of ODR, Drew, he actually just bought a house right down the road from me. So I plan on linking up with him a lot more and seeing if we can't just help each other out. Get this program back up and running, or not that it was ever not running, but my contributions haven't been as strong as they once were, just with busy life.
We all get busy, especially when you have a family. You have a 2-year-old. Of course, first and foremost, it's providing. It's being that good father. It's being that good husband. It's giving your 2-year-old everything that you possibly can, and that is your life, and as a father, and that is your job as a father, and everything else is free time, and that's where the reward comes in, because you are donating time that could be taken away from your family to improve the lives of other veterans. And again, that's the honorable part of what you've done here. And you've done it for a while. And yeah, you're in a little slow period right now, but you're going to pick back up. You're going to get back out there. You're going to get involved, especially as winter is coming on. It's going to be a lot cooler out there. It's going to be a lot easier to hit the desert, and you're not going to be out there in 110-degree temperatures. You can actually enjoy yourself and maybe even do a little camping when you're out there with these veterans. But you have done this again for quite some time, and there's nothing wrong with taking a break and then beginning again. I just made a post on Facebook again. Hey, don't be afraid to begin. Because we all have those times in life where you do something, whether it's going to the gym or you're going on walks every day or you're eating healthy. And then all of a sudden we have this down period. You're like, shit, I haven't done it for 2 weeks. Well, just because I haven't done it for 2 weeks, oh man, I haven't done it for a month now. Well, I'm not even going to start again, because now I'm already lost everything that begin again. And that's the cool thing about life, is you can always start over. You can always begin again and start that new clock, if you will, on maintaining that positive, strategy of getting back to where you were, and to re-engage in things that I know are meaningful to you. Hobbies and giving back and the rewards and all that stuff it gives to you. So again, the veteran and the first responder community is very thankful and grateful for the work and the attributes that you've put out to help save lives. I mean, that's the goal and the mission of what Chris does, is to save lives ultimately and have fun doing it. But now let's get to the firefighter part of your life. So you went through the community college in Lakewood. You took as many fire science classes as you possibly could. And in my eyes, graduated with honors at 92. And you were led to New Mexico. Describe do you go out on a lot of forest fires? Or do you live in a community where you're running a lot of traffic accidents or whatever? Describe that.
So I live in Rio Rancho, and I work about 92 miles north of where I live. So it takes me about an hour and a half to get to work. It's I guess a
Wow.
medium-sized department. I think we're about 130 people, line firemen, 3 shifts. And there's been, there's been a variety of different types of calls. We're kind of like an industrial fire department, so there's a lot of industrial things that we are there for. Um, we have a wildland team. I've been on a few different deployments. We went to Oregon 2 years ago out at the I think it was the Bootleg Fire. I think it was like the third biggest fire out in Oregon in the history. And then we just normally run just city calls. So
Mm-hmm.
all of our rigs are staffed with paramedics. I'm a paramedic. We have they're called ALS rigs. So our engine has typically our engine will have a paramedic on there, and at least one, and then the medic obviously has a medic on there. So any type of EMS call we get, the engine and the medic roll together. If it's any type of fire call, they usually just dispatch everybody. So the truck will go, rescue will go, engine will go, medics will go. So we go prepared. So better too much than not enough.
Are you a driver of the truck, or are you like what would be your title? Are you firefighter EMT? Are you blue helmet, red helmet? Like, what's the mission of Chad?
So yeah, right now I'm a firefighter paramedic. They call it a fire medic. There's a ranking structure that within my department, you can promote at any time, assuming you can pass the tests and have the right qualifications. But it goes firefighter up to driver, to captain, and then there's a series, battalion chief all the way up to the chief level. So, but right now, yeah, I'm a firefighter paramedic. So a bit of
Do you
paramedic.
have any long-term goals on where you want to see this career take you as a firefighter?
Um, yeah, I think long term goals. Yeah, I mean, I've been with this department for going on 6 years now, and I need to start thinking about like promoting. There's new guys
Hmm.
coming out that need a chance to be a paramedic, and I've been a paramedic long enough that it's probably time that I start climbing the ladder. So I think drivers in the near future. I'd like to be a captain for sure, and with the qualifications education wise that I have, I could probably make it to a chief level. So if I chose to go that route, I got involved with the fire service in 2012, and at the time through para, as they call it, it's the kind of the pension program. It was 20-year program, so I got 10 years left as of November. So it's not too far away. So I'll go
Well,
to the pension one of these days in the next 10 years.
you,
So.
you never know. In 10 years, you could be the fire chief, and you're not going to retire at 20. You're going to go to 40. You're going to be
Well,
the
I don't know about that. I mean, 25 is kind of like when you max out, and I think that in like 20 years, well, in another 10 years, I think I'll be done, and I think I'll kind of
you'll
go
be
venture
ready.
out and try something new. You know what I mean? And it's been a wild ride. It's been a good journey, but I think there's something else out there for me. I don't know what. Maybe it
I
has something to do with Chris and Outlaw Desert
Yeah.
Racing, or going back to mechanics, or running another shop. I don't know yet. So kind of have a diverse background. I'll figure it out. I'm not worried about it.
Yeah, I mean, your skill set is tremendous. I mean, you work on cars and you build these, dune buggies and all this, things like I'm not a rich, a rich Turner. I'm more versed in operating equipment, building like things. I was a custom landscaper. I'm good with like big stuff and like just a lot of the brawn, if you will, not really the brain, but the brawn. Like get in this skid, build this wall, build this water feature. But I am very creative and I'm very artistic when it comes to a lot of stuff. I'm just not very versed on like engineering, mechanics, all that other stuff. So you do have a skill set that will put you in the driver's seat, literally, to do really whatever you want. And that even goes for your career today.
Mhm.
Um, Rio Rancho. Now that's a suburb of Albuquerque, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, it is. Yep.
I've been up and down that I-25 corridor literally a million times, having graduated high school in Woodland Park, having lived in Colorado Springs for about an additional 12, 13 years out in Peyton area and Stetson Hills in Colorado Springs. Got tons of friends in Denver, Fort Collins, all the way up to Cheyenne. So that trip to get fireworks up 25 to go north, and then when I'm heading back to San Diego or whatever, it's I-25 south, and and then you make that turn onto 40, and you're heading back west, east, south, whatever it may be when you're getting out of Albuquerque. But Rio Rancho is a very beautiful community, and it's fairly new, isn't it?
Well, I mean, it's been around for a long time. I don't know much history on Rio Rancho. Intel was kind of, from what I've been told, I've never really looked into it, but Intel kind of built Rio Rancho. And so, there was a large population of people that worked for Intel, and they needed somewhere to live. So they built this suburb out in the desert, and this place is just thriving. There are communities going up everywhere. Yeah. And the building hasn't stopped, even with the prices of lumber and everything going through the roof, the building hasn't stopped. There's communities popping up everywhere. So Rio Rancho's grown tremendously. This is my home. So I live right on the edge of the desert, and this is exactly where I want to be.
So that's Bernalillo County, right?
So this is Sandoval County.
Oh, okay.
So we border Bernalillo County, so it's kind of weird because there's Bernalillo, which is northeast of here. There's Bernalillo, but Bernalillo I think is Sandoval County, but they have Bernalillo County, but Bernalillo County is not part of Bernalillo. So if that makes sense.
I know a legend out of Bernalillo County. This was one of the best high school football players to ever play in New Mexico in the early 90s. He was a Navy SEAL. This guy was absolutely incredible. So I'll never forget. He went to Bernalillo. I think he went to Bernalillo High School or Bernalillo County High School. And this guy was great. I think about him all the time, especially when I speak to folks like you that live in the area. So like I said, I know Bernalillo County and Albuquerque and Rio Rancho and all that other stuff too. So now, to get into something completely off topic here, but you say your area is growing tremendously. Do you think it has anything to do with the I-25 Hollywood studios that they've put in there to film movies where you're at?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think New Mexico is a hidden treasure. You talk to a lot of people on the East Coast. My wife's from the East Coast. You talk to a lot of people on the East Coast, and they don't know that New Mexico is a part of the United States. And so it's a hidden treasure. It is. It's beautiful. Down south,
oh, it is
beautiful, and it's got all kinds of different. I don't know. It's desert. It's city. It's mountainous. And the temperatures out here are pretty decent. It doesn't get too hot where I'm at. In Rio Rancho, maybe a couple weeks of 100 in the summertime. But when it snows, it snows, and it's like the next day, it's snow's gone. But it's always blue sky here, and I like that. It's a beautiful area. So.
Yeah, no, it is. And the hot air balloon classic they have in Albuquerque every year is amazing, with that massive mountain in the background and good backdrops. And it is a good city. And obviously, I think Breaking Bad put New Mexico definitely on the map for the folks that thought it was its own country. Now, oh, wow, that is part of the United States.
Yeah, there's been Breaking Bad kind of made this place famous, but
totally
here, and I think that they built a big old Facebook facility down south, and I think this place is getting ready to blow up like Colorado did. So in 2012, they legalized pot in Colorado, and I think that's when Colorado blew up. That's when I moved out of Colorado, but they recently just passed the same thing here. So I think this place is getting ready to erupt. So it's on the way. So
incredible. And the crazy thing is, I don't even understand our country anymore, because they say people are moving out of California at an all-time high. However, the building in California is still at an all-time high. And building at an all-time high in Colorado, and where I'm at here in Houston, buildings at an all-time high. Conroe, the Woodlands. These are communities that are growing at the pace of like number 1, number 2, number 3 ranked in the country. And then you look at Denver, Colorado Springs, Falcon, Peyton, and then you look at places like North Carolina and Tennessee. They're all growing. Florida. Where is everybody coming from? And these aren't little houses they're building. I mean, they're building $500,000 plus, dollar houses, and I just don't get it. I scratch my head every day, and I'm like, man, I don't understand how this whole economics thing works. Because just as a layman, just looking back and just seeing how the growth of our country is happening, and people have money to buy all this stuff and to buy all these houses, it seems like, and it's just, I don't know. I guess I'm at a loss for it.
I don't know either. I mean, like, I don't understand how anybody can afford a $500,000 house at a 6 or 7% rate. Like, I mean, people must be house broke. They could buy a big house, but they can't buy anything for the inside of it, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe they're making that money, but I surely can't afford something like that. So.
Yeah. And the crazy thing is, we had one of the largest housing booms ever in our country during COVID. Everybody was moving out of the cities to the suburbs, and it completely elevated all the pricing from the suburbs to, like, in a lot of areas. I mean, you had a $400,000 house and it would sell for $600,000.
Yeah.
And then it would be into a bid war. I mean, this was going on all over the place, especially in Texas and California. And so it'd be listed for, say 600, and it would sell for like 670. Or 650, because people were saying, no, I want this house. And now they're coming back down, and it's just like everybody that bought into that, it doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah. Bought a $400,000 house, and now the housing prices are coming down, so that $400,000 house, if they go to sell it, they might not be able to get $400,000 for it. So.
Yeah, the last thing you want to be upside down on is a house. I understand cars, trucks, whatever. You could be upside down on that. And it's still not good to be upside down on anything. But if you were ever not going to be upside down on anything, it would be your house. Because obviously, let's face it, that's your retirement fund right there. And you don't want to be paying on that for the rest of your life, especially in Texas, where you have very, very high tax rates for property values. So the property tax here in Texas is, I think it's some of the highest in the country.
Really?
Yeah.
There's
Actually,
no tax, right?
I'm sorry.
There's no state tax.
There's no state income tax. You still pay the federal, but when you look at, people say, well, Texas is so much cheaper than, say, California or Colorado. Well, it is to a certain extent when it comes to, say, the cost of a house could be $400,000 here for what you would pay $700 or $800 in California for. However, everything else is pretty much the same except for gas. Of course, fuel will be a little bit cheaper, or maybe half. So I guess that is a lot cheaper. But really, in the scheme of things, I'd rather pay $400,000 less for a house than to save, your $2 on gas or whatever. So I think that's why a lot of people come here. But
Right.
then once they get that house, they're paying, 12 to say 17,000 a year in property taxes.
That much?
So, oh yeah.
Oh wow.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, just a regular house. I mean, I think a lot of these houses are a minimum of like 10 to 12,000 for property taxes. And that's why they say a lot of these older folks are getting forced out of their homes because their Social Security can't pay that tax, so they get tax lien. State takes over their property, and now you have a 95-year-old man or woman who's a widow that's trying to pick up the pieces on a home that they may have paid off 30 years ago, but can't afford the tax note on the house, and they get forced out of it. It's very sad. So there definitely needs to be some sort of reform in Texas when it comes to property tax. But man, we've really gotten off topic here, but I love it because this is value. People are going to hear this and be like, oh, I can relate to that. So I still think we're doing really well, but we are running short on time here. But I still want to get a couple more questions in with you.
Sure.
Now, you have had some adversity in your life, and you have overcome it. Do you have any, say, wisdom or any advice for somebody out there that may be struggling as that 20-year-old kid that you once were, to perhaps give them some value, some words of value, some words of encouragement, if you will?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, I think that well, I'm a huge believer in the term "shit happens for a reason." It really does, and it led me to where I am today. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So um, that's kind of something I truly believe in, and if I can do it, anybody can do it. So I don't claim to be the smartest guy. I just did what I had to do, read some books, try and learn some things. I got flies all around my head right now, but yeah, I mean, it's if you want it, you got to go get it.
That's right.
People aren't going to hand you your life. It's your life. You do whatever you want with it, and
Yeah.
you can do nothing and work at McDonald's with it. You can work at McDonald's for the rest of your life, and some people might be okay with that, or you go out and get what you want. If you never try, you'll never get it.
That's right. Only you can save you.
Yep.
And a lot of people that may be stuck and struggling in life right now or going through some obstacles and some life challenges. Takes only to get 1% better every single day to start building up these series of 1%, these floor tiles, if you will.
Right.
And nothing comes overnight. It is a journey. It's not a marathon.
Yeah,
And,
it is for sure.
To get that 1% better every single day and to continue to build that, it definitely morphs into something bigger. And you really can't fight fate. Let's face it. And it's taken me so many years of my life to understand that shit does happen. And it does happen for a reason. Sometimes we may never find out why. And sometimes we do find out why. And it may be years and years down the road. And then we finally have this aha moment and say, holy cow.
I get it.
Wow. That and it's almost enough to give you goosebumps.
Oh yeah.
To say, wow, there was a higher power out there really looking out for me, and I was aligned. I was spiritually aligned in this, and I actually got called, perhaps to serve, or I got called to live this life that I know now for sure. And it has been confirmed through the actions and where my life has taken me, that I am on the path that I am supposed to be on. And once you find out that you are on that right path in life, it really fills your heart with gratitude, knowing that you are doing what you're supposed to be doing, and you're not at a dead-end job, and you're not punching the clock, and you're not coming home just pissed off every night and going for the beer and this and that, and living this life of just being depressed all the time and hating life. And you've got to find that job where you love it so much that it's not even a job.
Yeah.
The paycheck is a bonus at the end of the week. You know what I mean? I mean, that's what a lot of folks, and if we have more people like that, gearing their lives toward that ultimate goal of them living a prosperous and happy life full of peace, love, hope, and joy, and prosperity, and justice, and all that other stuff. I think our country would be in a much better place than we are right now.
100% agree.
So, listen, this has been a phenomenal interview, Chad, and I sincerely appreciate the time and the effort that you've given us today to join us and share a little bit about your story and all the work that you do out there with ODR, and share your relationship with Chris, who's a phenomenal man, a great friend, and this guy's a true champion in the veteran community. But again, I want to thank you for everything that you do in your own community, as well as being a fireman and a public servant.
Pleasure.
Your service, sacrifice, and dedication is truly honorable.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Until next time, for Tuesdays with Tally, this is Brian Tally. Good night, Semper Fi, and God bless.